Gentleman yields. Point of clarification for the record, it was 300 million attacks a day? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, that's correct, against our customers that we observe. We detect more than 300 million such attacks every day.
Okay. Just clarifying for the record. I now recognize Mr. Pfluger for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Smith, thanks for being here. I want to talk about the collaboration. In many committees on Capitol Hill, we're talking about this balance and tension between safety and security and liberty and private enterprises. And so what I really want to hear from you is talk to us about the relationship with CISA. I know you've mentioned this in testimony written and also today, but just talk to us about how that relationship is, what can be better from your side, what can be better, what you expect from the government. Is it a mandate for reporting from the government? Is it, voluntary roundtables in a classified setting? I'd like to hear a little bit about that, and I have some follow-on questions.
Yeah, I think CISA is a critical agency. It's been moving in a positive direction overall. I think the CSRB plays an important part of this. I think that ultimately we would benefit from finding more ways to keep working together across the tech sector, and then with the CISA and other agencies in the U.S. government, and frankly with our allies, because it's an entire ecosystem that we're seeking to defend, and nobody can do it by themselves. And I think fundamentally, just as the CSRB's words were well taken by us, we needed to focus on our culture. I think we have a collective culture. And it's a collective culture that we need to work on by inspiring more collaboration, not just with the government, but frankly across our industry, so that people can compete. Somebody said there's no plan B. I think about 2/3 of the folks who are sitting behind me in this room are trying to sell plan B to you in one way or another, and that's okay. But there's a higher calling here as well. And I like to say, the truth is when shots are being fired, people end up being hit, and they take their turn being the patient in the back of the ambulance. Everybody else, you're either going to be an ambulance driver or you're going to be an ambulance chaser. Let's be ambulance drivers together.
Well, let's drill down to that and the relationship that you have with the U.S. intelligence community, with DoD. The thing that's unique about Microsoft is you pretty much cover every sector, every industry, every households, businesses. But when you look at the relationship with the national security entities, tell us what the biggest gaps are right now to making sure that they can stay secure in their operations.
The thing to think about is that defenders too often work in silos. Every company thinks about their products. Every agency thinks about what they have. Attackers look for the seams between the silos. The more silos you have, the more seams you have. And just as there are seams in different technology products, because most customers deploy them together, there are seams across the government. So a lot of times, one of the challenges for us is that the parts of the government, when this information is coming in about, say, an active cyber attack from a place like China, that information doesn't necessarily flow from one part of the federal government to another. And there's a lot of work being done to address this, but I think that needs to be advanced more quickly as a matter of priority.
300 million attacks a day, that's incredible. Finally, let me just talk about I think this is the Committee on Homeland Security. We're very worried about what nation-state actors and non-nation-state actors are doing and how that affects our homeland. Obviously, the PRC and the CCP's attempts to undermine this country, our government, industries, intellectual property, all of it is a massive concern. And so I know you've mentioned this before here today, but just talk to us a little bit about the relationship with the PRC. How does that affect intellectual property, things that you have that could be either exploited for their benefit to undermine the United States of America?
I would say two things. I mean, first, any company that has valuable intellectual property has to be very careful to protect it from theft, unless it's IP that they're publishing, and a lot of code is published in open source form. But you have to think about how to protect it so it doesn't go where it should not. And there are certain intrusions, especially from, say, a place like the PRC, that are focused on discovering trade secrets.
And knowing that, is Microsoft taking steps to improve what you're protecting? And
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the other thing just to know is that the adversaries are constantly changing their tactics. If this were a case of just saying, gee, this is what was done in like 2022, let's all go fix what was done in 2022, then you'd feel good. But I guarantee that what is done in 2025 is going to be different from what is being done in 2024. You constantly have to learn, adapt, and change, which is what we're doing.
Thank you. My time's expired. I have more questions. We'll submit them for the record. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.